I think Arizona is being held responsible unfairly for that reputation that Republicans get, that they can't win House and Senate seats when Trump's not on the ballot, like he was in November. Now, what do I mean by that? He kind of carried Dave McCormick in flipping a seat in Pennsylvania, a state he won. He kind of carried who was the other guy? Bernie Moreno in Ohio, uh, who flipped the seat there in the Senate, and so on. So the Democrats, if they are dying on this hill of trying to get MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangbangers out of Salvadoran prisons, guys, don't stand in their way because regardless of what state you're in, it's going to be devastating for the Democrats. I mean, this is not a single mom from Guatemala with 4 children that, aside from the fact that she was in like the state of California, for example, or let's pick a red state because this 30-year-old single Guatemalan mother was living illegally in Florida or whatever. Yes, the fact that she's in Florida illegally with no status makes her a nonviolent criminal. Okay. And you could use the word criminal because it's a criminal activity to remain in the United States illegally. We can't be scared by the vocabulary. Use the correct words. Otherwise, we're still going to be surrounded by dumb people, right? In our social circle. There is a big difference between getting a 110-pound 30-year-old single mother who's living in Florida illegally out of deporting her to Guatemala than there is for this fucking guy. Kilmar is his name. And trust me, guys, the reason he's in CCOT, that max security detention center outside of San Salvador, the capital, is because of the fact that the Salvadoran government probably has warrants for arrest on his ass for working with MS-13. You got to remember those cliques, like what is it, the 18th Street Gang and MS-13. They do have non-violent members. Okay, think about it. They're a terrorist gang, right? Not every one of them's covered in fucking tattoos, which makes it obvious as to who they are. They have what they call falcons, and the Mexican gangs have these too. That's basically you know, the lady who's selling tortillas in the street lets the gangs know when the cops or the military's coming, rolling up their block, looking to pounce. Okay, they employ women, they employ children, they force them to do this. Of course, it's not by choice. I don't know what this guy has done. Allegedly, trial he was involved in human trafficking. Not every member of MS-13 is covered in tats and looks like a satanic lunatic. Some of them have to blend in, quote unquote. Some of them have to be, quote unquote, family people. And make no mistake, guys, there's a reason this guy was in Maryland and not in Alabama. It's because he was in a sanctuary state, probably in a sanctuary county, where his ass wouldn't have gotten deported by Joe Biden. Allegedly, he had some domestic abuse with this woman who's defending him on TV. They say it's his wife. I haven't seen document. The media hasn't released document. Yeah, okay. He had children with her. That doesn't mean that they're legally married. They don't have the same last name. He seems like he's been estranged to her. So it's a difference between being somebody's spouse and being the sperm donor. All right. So wait for the media to drop these data points because that's important. But I just want to say, guys, to summarize this first conversation piece, that let the Democrats self-destruct. Let Cory Booker make an ass of himself and fly to San Salvador and get rejected. Now you saw yesterday in the White House, Caroline brought out Rachel Moore, and we all know about her daughter and what happened to her in the same state by an animal from the same gang, MS-13, rape and murder. That's the MO of these animals. And I really think that as tragic as that was to hear that woman speak, I think finally the White House press corps needs to get their head out of their ass and stop asking about this MS-13 gangbanger from Maryland. He's right where he belongs, in the country he was born in a prison that he's never going to escape out of and never get paroled. All right? Don't don't get sidetracked by the media reporting. This is the one thing they won't go back on, friends, is they're not going to say, "Oh, well, the Trump administration admits they mistakenly deported him." You got to understand something. When he goes back to El Salvador, there's no like country club prison down there for him to go to. If you have ties to MS-13, you go to the max security detention center uh, at Seacott. Okay, they're not going to put him in a place where he gets the internet and gets to go to Bible study for half an hour a day. None of that. You're involved with MS-13, whether you're covered with tattoos, whether you're living in Maryland or whether you're living in fucking San Miguel, El Salvador. You're going to this prison and you're never getting out. And that's not for us in the United States to our President Bukele is not asking for our fucking opinion. It's his country and he has to maintain law and order there. Doesn't matter if this guy didn't kill anybody. And like I said, don't it's irrelevant, but there are members of these gangs that are not foot soldiers, so to speak. Right? They have falcons, they have coyotes, as they call them. Like I said, the Mexican gangs do too. The Venezuelan gangs do as well. It's the same shit. Okay. Uh, the same demonic shit. So that's it. And don't be afraid to use the word criminal. Staying in this country illegally is a criminal activity. Doesn't matter if you didn't rape anybody, doesn't matter if you didn't kill anybody, if you didn't rob a bank, if you didn't deal drugs. None of that matters. The fact that you overstayed a visa or you have no status, etc., you are breaking the law. That makes you a criminal. Doesn't make you a violent criminal. And yes, illegal aliens do pay taxes because a lot of times they have stolen social security numbers, stolen identity. I don't care that they're paying the IRS 20% of their paycheck. I don't give a shit about that. They're breaking the law. Should the IRS return that money? No. But by the same, these are the arguments you're going to get from Democrats and liberals, guys. That well, he was paying taxes and he had a family. First of all, say I was single. You would not catch me living down in Brazil uh, with just my US passport, you know, having a bunch of children or getting a lot of women pregnant or getting a woman pregnant and not going through, if I love this woman, the legalization process in Brazil for I'm just picking a random country, Brazil. Okay, normal people don't take that risk. You know what I mean? So you have to look past that again, because that's what the Democrats, that's the propaganda they're saying. Because he didn't rob a bank in Maryland, because his children are American born and they have blonde hair and blue eyes, he can't be deported. Well, fuck that, guys. First of all, his wife should not have gotten involved with him in the first place, because trust me, she knew exactly what he was all about. Maybe she was forced into it, but if she's an American citizen, she should have gone and gotten help. She should have said, look, this guy I think is in a gang. He got me pregnant. I feel endangered. Trust me, he was threatening her, guys. There's no fucking way she stayed silent since 2019 when he got the first when the judge had said he had to be deported. Okay, and there were some domestic violence accusations there. Trust me, her life's been in jeopardy since the day she opened her legs for that dude. Okay, I don't know how many years it's been, I don't care. I'm just saying she's never been safe, and I find it very, very ironic that she doesn't open her fly trap until the dude's sitting in Seacott right now with the shaved head, probably getting the shit beat out of him by guards for being insubordinate. And you know what? Sadly, her life is still under threat, probably by MS-13 operatives. But, again, she created her own hellhole with that. She should have gone to the cops. If she was a United States citizen, she could have had protection, even in Maryland. She should have gone to the cops the minute she found out she was pregnant with this guy's kid. And not only did she make that mistake once, I don't know how many children there are, 3 or 4. She's made it several times. So my sympathy, I have no, what do you call it? I don't approve of any battery towards women or any violence towards women, obviously. But she had 4 opportunities. I think they have 4 children to get out of that. So, how much sympathy can I have for her at this point? Now she's just being manipulated. So, let the Democrats die on that hill, friends. Don't get in the way of them imploding. So, I'm interested in your thoughts on. I mean, I was furious yesterday at that senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen. I mean, just like an absolute goddamn fool flying in there for a day, knowing that he wouldn't get an audience with this guy. They wouldn't even let him talk to him on the phone. And here we are. It's just bad, guys. Like CNN, MSNBC, they can't spin it. Okay, they can't spin it. Uh, it's they're defending gangbangers, guys, and we don't know if this guy didn't kill anybody in the United. We don't. But if anybody thinks he was clean and he was just an illegal overstaying a visa, maybe you should be watching CNN and MSNBC because you'll believe anything. So leave it to the presidents, leave it to Trump, leave it to Bukele to deal with this. And that shows what a good ally we have now in El Salvador, that their president and their vice president basically told Chris Van Hollen to go pound sand. So this is a good thing. Moving on to the markets. Markets are going to open. Uh, it's one word I have is resilient, right? For New York Stock Exchange, futures, and all that. I think this is a really good time to invest, guys, even though it seems chaotic and uncertain. Never financial advice, just my opinion, of course. You've seen gold skyrocket. You've seen certain stocks level out, such as the tech stocks that everybody was buying the last 4 years because they seem to be one of the only hedges against Biden-inflation. Isn't it interesting that Google, Meta, all those stocks skyrocketed the last 4 years? I saw Costco too. Do you guys know a Costco stock I think is like $1,000 a share? I remember when my parents bought it at like in the early 2000s, probably for like 38 bucks. I don't know if they still have it, but I remember they invested in it at one point. They have a guy that does their trading, but just because they're big fans of that Costco, so I know they bought a lot of shares when it went public. I want to say like in the early 2000s. So if they're still sitting on that, they've made quite a bit of money, haven't they? Uh, so what I've done this, I'm looking at fractional gold to add to my stack. It's high. It's 3,300, but I mean, I'm gonna tell you, it's under gold should be 5 grand an ounce, guys. It's the most underappreciated asset. I would think that it's probably gonna decline a little bit, maybe to 28, 2,900. In my opinion, that would be a good time to buy if you have the money to do it. I think it's a safe investment. I think over the next 3 years, gold is only gonna go up. I'm gonna buy some stocks in about an hour. Um, what am I buying today? Well, I like the lithium stocks, lithium mining stocks. You can get There's a bunch of companies that they sell anywhere from 5 to 30 bucks a share. I mean, I like that. I'm looking at offshore drilling, with fracking, which Trump and the Department of the Interior are looking at doing, Department of Energy. I'm looking at offshore drilling. Uh, what else? Mining. Those are usually the stocks I trade. I don't buy Tesla. I don't buy tech stocks because I don't know enough about them. I buy commodities. I like that. I know a little bit about that. Uh, what else? Yeah, that's what I'm looking at today. Just those two. I'll research a few companies. Uh, Remember, this isn't a dip, so I'm just buying it now because I think it's a fair price and it's affordable for me. It's not because I think I'm getting a deal. But you all have to make your own financial decisions. Being self-employed, I don't have a 401k, so I do all my own investing in retirement. Uh, and I like it that way. I don't think I'd ever want another guy or gal buying my stock, not because I don't trust them, but I just enjoy researching companies. And as you guys know, I'm a ferocious reader, so uh, and a pretty good speed reader. So I could get the gist of these companies pretty easily because I know to cut to the bullshit and just look at where I think they're going to perform. So it's an exciting time for that, friends. Okay. Be bullish, as they say. A bull is the opposite of a bear when it comes to the stock market, right? Let me get some stuff up in the nest for you. It's good to see you all. Some of this shit I've already been talking about, but we'll put it up so you guys could bookmark it for later if you're at all interested. So, first thing that's going up is you should watch Patty Moore, and it was only about 10 minutes. That's up in the nest. Just very heartbreaking. I'll let you guys read that. I'm sure many of you watched it yesterday, I can imagine. So, uh, that's rapid response. Another one from President Trump. He had a very good meeting with the Japanese yesterday. I want to get into that briefly. You guys start asking for mics, okay? We'll have a convo, or you can say what's on your mind. So, had a very productive call with the president of Mexico yesterday. Likewise, I met with the highest level Japanese trade reps. It was a very productive meeting. Every nation, including China, wants to meet. And today, Italy's there, the first EU country. So we'll see what happens. They've got, Georgia Maloney, who's she's an attractive, younger, as far as politicians go, younger president of Italy or prime minister of Italy. And she is not happy about the tariffs, but believe it or not, oh, Gemini, you like that. Viva Italia, huh? I see you. I see the hearts.
I like her.
So does Elon Musk, by the way, Gemini.
I don't think he's her type, that's all I'll say.
He's everybody's type. He's worth 45 billion, right? He's my type
I'm gonna
even for 45 billion. What were you gonna say?
funny, I'm gonna DM you something later about her.
Okay,
I
awesome.
can't say I cannot say it publicly.
No problem. No problem. I got a grasp of Italian too a little bit. I can understand it better than I can speak it, but uh I've heard some of her interviews like in Italian and I understand like every third word. She's fire, man, let me tell you. But I think it's interesting because believe it or not, guys, as far as the Euro countries go, you're going to be surprised. Ireland and Italy have the highest trade imbalance with the United States, and I mean it's in the tens of billions of dollars per year. But Ireland is, I want to say it's like 40 billion in 2024. Ireland buys, uh, they sell a lot of stuff to the United States. That I did not know at all. I don't know what their resource or what their main export is. I'll have to look it up, but I just saw the chart on or around Liberation Day. But Ireland and Italy have very, very high tariffs for the stuff they take in. Very high, higher than England, higher than France. Like you'd be, I mean, I was shocked. Ireland is right behind like the Asian countries. I think Ireland is 5 or 6. They're ahead of like Malaysia in terms of, it's like China, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, then Ireland out of nowhere. And by the way, Italy's not far behind either. So, and by the way, we should be importing uh Italian pasta because it's made a lot cleaner than the pasta we buy in the grocery store. So, but they don't have a lot of it to export. I think that's why the tariff is so high. The markup is incredible, and you see it. You guys go to any like Italian, traditional Italian place or whatever, right? Italian market, like a pound of pasta of like the real stuff from Naples or whatever is a lot, like 12, $13 a box, and there's a reason for that. The wheat they use isn't sprayed and all that. How they make it is just very, very different. Um, it's the healthiest carb you can get is Italian made pasta. It doesn't matter what part of Italy or Sicily it's from. Just the way they process it is way different. It's not as mass produced. It's better for you. It's clean food. But again, Italy's not a big country, and they have a lot of orders to fulfill. But trust me, they sell the most to us. Therefore, they need to give us a way better price on tariffs just thinking of pasta. I'm just thinking out loud. Anyway, hey Patrick, what's up, man?
Hey, I just want to chime in on Ireland. So one of their problems is that all the tech work is there, tech and pharmaceutical, right? And so their trade imbalance is really that, and then the tax shelter for American companies in Europe. So they're screwed. Like if Trump wants to move everything out of there, very easy, very easy. But they're screwed. I don't think he'd do it. But I mean, he might, but they gotta unwind it, and that's gonna take time. It's kind of crazy. They don't make any textiles anymore. It's nuts. They used
Th-
to have all their vacationing, all of that. Hospitality is like their one industry, and they've ruined it by letting all these people into the country because it's not Ireland anymore.
Oh, totally. Oh,
And
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Yep.
I mean that, and then their textiles. They sold Waterford Crystal. It's Chinese now. Now there's other crystal makers there, but that was the brand. Same with all the sweaters and all I mean, we were there in the '80s, and they had old weaving machines that were ran practically manually. It's kind of crazy what's happened over there. And I mean, their education system is better than ours. The people are well educated, smart. If you ever talk to many in these Irish spaces, very well spoken, way better than us by a long shot, especially in terms of their historical view of the world. Very classical, very they got nothing to do but read over there because all it does is rain all day, right? So, they had a lot of time to look back over, historical things and wars and more classical, I'd almost say like Renaissance type thought. And so it's very interesting to talk with folks over there. They're very polite, but it's a mess. It's a mess for that country. I don't know what they're going to do, but if shit hits the fan, they're royally fucked.
So Patrick, that's great points. I have been in those Irish spaces, like I've listened to them. I think a lot of people get thrown off by their brogue because it makes them some depending on where you're from in Ireland, it's very hard to understand them. And I think a lot of American people, even British people and American people, think that because the Irish have like their own take on the English language,
Oh,
that
go
that
away with you now, or you go fuck off.
yeah, and they swear a lot that they're uneducated or undereducated. They're not. You're 100% right. Um, and it's not just Arabs. There's a lot. Their ex Tsek, which is like their prime minister, was actually Indian, Vardakar or Varadkar. So they attract Indians. They attract. Yes, they're getting the Islamification like England and France is too right now. But uh, yeah, I mean, Irish education's no joke. And the reason why they put a lot of money into education is because they've had kind of an inferiority complex with England. So they don't want to be seen as like stupid mix. And I'll tell you, the Irish people that not all of them, but the Irish people that immigrate to the United States in the 20th century, they were the gangsters. Like the smart people are over there. Right. Trust me, I grew up not too far from Boston, which is the city that was run by the Irish mob until like the mid 90s. So the low IQ Irish are the ones that live in places like South Boston, etc. Not all of them, but because they can't hack it over there or they have criminal records. You go to Ireland, they're just as sophisticated as people that go to those prestigious universities in like Vienna, Austria, or Madrid. What throws people off is the brogue because it makes them sound un they don't sound polished like a British person or a French person speaking with like a
Uh,
you know what I'm saying? That's
yeah,
what
no,
throws people off.
I hear what you're saying, and maybe it's different for me because my father's Irish and I'm a dual citizen. But it's it is. I hear where you're coming from in a lot of cases, but there's other folks in those spaces. That's I think you're painting with a broad brush too, from the brogue standpoint, because there's other folks that it's complete opposite. It depends on whether they're from the city or whether they're from countryside in terms of the brogue. But let me say this: so like their medical school in Dublin, it's all Chinese, wealthy Chinese. Their parents can afford to send them there, and they go there to get medical degrees. And the Irish can't even get a medical degree in their own country.
Yeah, there's a reason why Conor McGregor is many of you would laugh like 10 years ago when he was just a UFC champion, but they have a huge problem. And you got to remember, Ireland doesn't have the resources that France and England does. When they get overrun, like their police force, they call them the Garda, and they're I think still unarmed except for the SWAT. So their street cops don't even have guns. I mean, you want to talk about, you know, purposely trying to destroy a country. So, yeah, I've not been to Ireland. I've been to the UK, but not Ireland. I would say it's on the bucket list, but
You
maybe
need to
not.
go. You need to go because you won't want to leave. It's that cool.
That's what people tell me. That's what people tell me. I used to work with a guy from Galway, and he was pretty cool. He was not a hoodlum or anything like that, but um, he had the brogue and everything, despite the fact he had lived here so long. Uh, and I'll never forget, he had two twin boys, two twins, a boy and a girl, Devin and Shayla. You can't get more Irish than them. So, yeah, nice guy. But they're the first non-Asian nation on the list that has the highest trade surplus with the United States, which I couldn't believe. So, of all places, I mean, and by the way, we don't
It's
have much.
services. It's just all the tech services that run through there, and they're
Is it?
tipping off the tax shelter. That's the bulk of it, right? Because they speak English, so they're like the bridge to Europe.
Yep. Yep.
Right. I mean, that's the advantage of the US. I mean, years ago in the 90s, they were sending medical transcription over there and all kinds of stuff, insurance work, like State Farm needed adjudicators or whatever. They'd send stuff over there, life insurance and stuff like that, because they're just very well rounded.
Right. Right. And my parents have like a bed and breakfast place, and they don't do it now because they're retired and they have more time to do it. But uh, they used to, a couple summers, they had a few Irish, I would say college age girls that used to come to work in the summer on the beach for college money, right? They do like chambermaid, uh, kind of front desk type stuff, and they never in a bad mood. Of course, how could you be having a summer job on the beach? you know. But they would bust out into that river dance in the middle of the hallway. I'll never forget it, just like on a whim, whether somebody was around or not, just very happy to be alive. But we have a trade imbalance to correct with them, and it has to start now. You would think that they would be there before Italy, but Italy's in house today, friends, and I think that this is a major strike against the EU. I do think the EU wants to make a deal, but make no mistake, Maloney is a right wing politician, but make no mistake, her loyalty is to Fortress Europa, not to Trump or the United States. They all fall in lockstep at the end of the day. So I wouldn't expect miracles, but just the mere fact that a major player in the EU, we're not talking about Macedonia here. It's Italy. It's they're just outside of the top three with England, France, and Germany. Then I'd say Italy's number four on that list in terms of influence. Any sort of deal made out independently with the country, and then the EU is a trading bloc collectively. So each country, like Ireland, Italy, France, they all have a trade imbalance with the United States. The one with Britain is not that bad. Britain does not tariff us very high, and vice versa. That might go back to the post-revolution. Uh, I don't know. During the Revolutionary War, guys, the British Empire was basically China in terms of the monopoly they had on the 13 colonies. So, I mean, we fought the fucking revolution over that in large part over commerce. So, and the fact that we were paying taxes and didn't have any representation in Parliament in London, right? Nor did the Indians, nor did the Bermudans, nor did the Africans or any other colony they had. But they extracted an enormous amount of wealth out of the New World, right? Uh, so it's like, okay, um, we fought the French and Indian War for you guys. We are consider ourselves Englishmen living in the 13 colonies, and we're paying a buttload of tax here to the crown. We would like to have a representative from each colony in Parliament. And the king basically told us to go fuck ourselves, and the rest is history. So, uh, but because of that, the tariff is only a 10% baseline with the UK. So I don't even know if we need to make a deal with them, because I don't think England and the United States are abusing each other in trade. So, but the fact that some of these other countries are it needs to be corrected. So we need these standalone deals with an Italy, with an Ireland, etc., and then move on. Because all it's going to take is a domino or two to fall, and then that'll put pressure on the Germans. That'll put pressure on the French. That'll put pressure on the Swiss, etc. Switzerland's not in the EU, I don't think, but and they're not in NATO either. But they have a lot of influence with the rest of Europe for obvious reasons. Because my mom actually grew up partially in Switzerland and went to high school there. So I know a little bit about it. For those of you not familiar, Switzerland is actually cut up into four regions. One region is Swiss, one region is German, one region is Italian, one region is French. So it's kind of like a melting pot. And then they all mix in together, and all four languages are spoke. And because you've got a lot of dual citizens, you have a lot of people that have a German and a Swiss passport. You got a lot of people that have a French and Swiss passport. They can't get elected to politics, but they have a lot of influence, right? Because you got to have money to live in Switzerland. It's like the Dubai of Europe, and always has been. So that being said, Switzerland gets pulled in four different directions. I think their biggest influence is probably Germany, right? France number two. So they're kind of a wild card, right? They have to be neutral because their citizenry is so chopped up into four quadrants, right? Um, that's a little bit on Switzerland. So, uh, moving on, guys, into the market and how it's going to affect trade. And please grab a mic, guys, if you want to. And good morning to you all. I think what you have to look at is, if the Japanese steel, as I said the other day, comes to fruition, I think that's going to bring a lot of stability and calmness back to the market, because of the fact that Japan is obviously a major rival of China, right in their backyard. And we also, while it's not the type of imbalance we have with China, which is 240 billion, it's not far behind. So again, these need to be corrected. Japan's biggest exports to the United States, so the stuff they mark up, cars, Trump's talked about that, electronics, uh, and stuff like that. So, in fact, I had a post about it. They did the research. I can't remember what we export to. Oh, cement and LNG, natural gas. Cement and natural gas are two of our main exports from the US to Japan. So anytime you've got fossil fuels involved, there's a big window for us to make more money than we should. We're not making any money. But that needs to change. Trump understands the Japanese better than anybody, so I think that this will soon be resolved, and that's a major player off the board. And I think it'll put a lot of the haters in check because they think that what Trump's doing is a dangerous gamble and blah blah blah. Whatever, man. I just know that we're headed in the right direction. I would be bullish on the United States. It's a complete reset, and if you blink, guys, you're gonna miss all the good stuff that's going on. And there's a lot. Okay, it's not a little bit going on, it's a lot. And the best thing you can do is not get overwhelmed with it. Not worry, not check your retirement. Okay. Not do anything like that. What you should do is take it all in, do your homework, do your research. When a deal is struck with a certain country, like Japan or South Korea, just go on ChatGPT, find out quickly what the main X is or what the main crop is that we get from these countries, and learn how we're going to get a better deal on things and how that's going to help. You know, I'm assuming, like China, Japan makes it very hard for American farmers to get product. They have a lot of what they call VAT, value added tax, or they make it impossible. Like we don't, Chinese agriculture companies or Japanese agriculture companies get first dibs at the market, which is fine, but they don't have markets big enough to support feeding everybody. So they do want to have the American agriculture market be supplemental, but they don't want to pay anything. So they want to have their cake and eat it too. That's what a lot of these trade deals go down to, friends, is that we have an asset, whether it's corn or whether it's soybeans, which I don't recommend eating. We'll get into that another day. Or whether it's the equipment itself, whether it's John Deere or Caterpillar, right? And the Japanese, South Koreans, and Chinese, they all want these things. They have their own domestic companies, their own domestic market, like we used to have up until the 90s. And they're anxious to buy stuff from the United States, but they don't want to pay above sticker. They don't want to pay a tariff, or they don't want to make it. You'd almost look at it like, why are we even involved in doing business with these countries? Because the American companies that are trying to export, they're not really covering their expenses. But if you're a company like John Deere, okay, that Japan buys a shit ton from, or Caterpillar, all right, you can't be a serious company and say, well, we're not going to sell to Asia. I mean, that's fucking insane. That's half the world's population. You can't not be in that market. But it's like, okay, we're in that market because we're John Deere and we need to sell to 2 billion people in China. But the problem is we're not making any fucking money. We're in the market, but we're getting bent over. And it's almost like being in a toxic relationship. Like American companies are in a toxic relationship with Asia, and they shouldn't be. There's no reason for that. It's like, here's another example. Say this, here's something we can all understand. All of you are good-looking people in here, right? So most of you have had a bad relationship, and ladies, you probably look in the mirror in relationships gone. You're like, oh well, you know, I'm looking in the mirror, and you're like, well, I don't. This guy I'm dating is very mentally abusive to me, and he's not even handsome. Yet there's this guy at the gym that is handsome and wants my shit. Why am I still with this guy? Because I don't want to be alone, because I've got my girlfriend's wedding coming up and he's my date. I don't want to go alone. And you make all these excuses as to why you should still be in that relationship that you're not getting anything out of. Men, same deal. You've all been with women that you've had bad chem with, right? And why am I with this girl? She brings nothing to my life. She bothers me. She creates divisions with my friends, but man, she's a fucking 10. All right. And we all have tried to reconcile in our mind why we are in these relationships when we're not, when the ROI is just not there. And you're probably, as a guy, saying, well, there's a lot of good looking women out there. I can get another smoke show that doesn't drive me fucking crazy and turns my buddies against me, right? Or tries to turn me against my buddies. Ladies, as you know, is unforgivable doing that to your boyfriend, all right, or husband. You never turn them against their buddies, even if you don't like them. Even if you don't like, trust me. But there's a lot of, in fact, probably my best friend from high school, my wife doesn't really care for, but she understands that he was there before her. And it's not like she has to see him much because he moved like 50 miles away. So it's not like she sees him every weekend, right? So, same deal with companies. The reason I gave you that nonsensical uh, talking point, guys, is because it's no different. Like Harley Davidson, John Deere, all these, Ford, GM, all these legendary powerhouse American companies, they're in toxic relationships with countries like China, Japan, Europe, all of Europe, etc. And they shouldn't be. God damn it! Why? Why is there a 50% tariff on Harley Davidson motorcycles in India when the demand is so high for Harleys in India? And Modi makes it impossible for, I mean, yeah, they can't not be in the Indian market. Again, it's 1.5 billion consumers. But they're not, when they, how much can they actually make on like a Harley Sportster, a very baseline model, it doesn't have bells and whistles. I mean, you can customize any bike. I'm just saying a Harley Sportster is a smaller bike. It's not that loud, but anyway, that's a common model bought in India. And I think now it's 25%, but up until 2017, it was 50%. Like, this is just, it's crazy, guys. And same thing. Trump talks about it. Ford, GM, go to Dublin, Patrick. How many guys I think they call them lorries in Ireland too. How many Ford F-150s do you see guys in Dublin driving?
No, they all drive Toyotas and Scania, Arctic lorries.
Yeah, but they probably wouldn't be against an American-made truck. They probably just can't.
Well, there's no
get 'em,
Peterbilts
right?
over there. Remember, our standards for length on those big trucks is different, and the terrain, at least in Europe, is totally different. Like those trucks have way more horsepower than ours would.
Yeah, because it's the topography is different. I get it, but I mean, just the fact that when we have a trade imbalance, and I know you said it's the service industry, but when you have a trade imbalance of that amount with a country as small as Ireland population wise relative to Asia, and they're like right in the top 10 with them. Okay, Ireland, maybe you're maybe the workers in Dublin will in Limerick will, maybe they won't, but I want to have a Ford plant there. Let the market decide. Let the Irish
It's
citizen
interesting.
decide
So I'll
if they want to buy
compare
this.
contrast. So you've got your
Yeah, go ahead.
your well-educated elites in the city with tech jobs, or really working professionals. I mean, that's the bulk of it, right? And then you've got your services folks that are like the MAGA constituent, that we're in hospitality, and the disparity is unreal. You can't buy a home there. Because it's so small, and then their planning permission won't even let you build. It's like pulling teeth to get anything done. Here you go down, you get a permit. Yeah, sure, we'll get the tax base. There, good luck. Good luck being, even if you're buying like an acre or something out in farmland area. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah. Every country's got a different backstory. Yeah, I get that. But we should, excuse me, as the number one consumer in the world, we're also should be the number one exporter in the world because we've got the most industrious economy that's not based in communism like China, etc. So I think what we need to communicate to people, to our fellow American, is that the United States has a lot to offer, and that's obvious to everybody in here. Who's like, well, yeah, no shit. obviously, but it's not so obvious for every Tom, Dick, and Harry in your life, guys. Trust me. Whether it's friends, family, or coworkers, or whatever, randos out in the street. Yeah, not everybody gets that, and I think what can we do? We're not in there obviously in trade negotiations with these other countries that we're trying to correct past transgressions with trade. But what we can do is talk up America. And even if people, like, there's some people, they love our country, they vote for Trump, but they're just partial to, for example, Volkswagen, or they're just partial to Toyota because you could put, 300,000 you could run a Toyota Corolla into the ground. A Toyota Corolla will survive a nuclear blast. I get it. You want reliability and affordability. I understand that. But you should tell people that's great that you voted for Trump. That's great you have an American flag in your yard, and your son's going to boot camp, and and I know you love Toyotas because you've got a 30-mile commute each way to work. But recognize, Eddie, do you plan on buying another Corolla for commuting purposes when this one shits the bed? Oh yeah, I fucking love. Yeah, man. Either that or a Camry. I love Toyota, and they're really cheap to fix. Okay, you do understand they're probably going to be $5,000 more now when the deal with Japan is done. Well, you're going to get one of two answers there. You're going to get, oh, well, fuck that. I'm going to buy something cheaper. I don't want, or we'll see how loyal this guy is to Toyota. We'll see how loyal your neighbor Eddie is to Toyota. Your other option would be, if you're, really want to support an American company and you've got this long ass commute to the city to go to work every day, why don't you look into, are you against the concept of an electric vehicle? Can I interest you in a Tesla, which is made in the United States? And yes, it's going to be 4 times what a Corolla is in price, but look at the benefits of it. And I just did it, guys. I just did a job in a residential house. I'm not an electrician, but I was the general contractor. I know what it costs to put a Tesla charging station in a garage. I think supplies, and I can't remember what model the guy had. I'm actually going there tomorrow. I'll try and take a picture of it. But I've put that in. It was like less than $4,000 between the equipment from Tesla and what the electrician charged me. I want to say his labor was like less than 2,000, and it wasn't a lot of material. But yeah, we'll say 3,800. That's and that includes the stuff Tesla has to send, the port, charging port, and all that, which is Tesla specific for that model's vehicle. So that to me is a good investment. So you have to be able to tell people, that's great that you love your brand loyal to Toyota, but they're not going to be, $24,000 anymore for a brand new sedan. They're going to be much more money because we have a raised tariff on that, etc. Or if Toyota decides to just manufacture in the US, there's no tariff, like Trump said. It's still going to be higher, though, because that steel and aluminum tariff isn't going away. So something to think about. My point in this, guys, is you just have to convince your circle that we've been underpaying in some cases for things that we took for granted, and we've been overpaying for other things, like the amount of taxes we pay, like our property tax, etc. Everybody's going to get on board with that, even a liberal Democrat. But there's other stuff that we've fetishized the concept of soup and not spending a lot of money. And I understand everybody's budget is different. If you don't have a lot of money, continue doing what you're doing. I'm not here to talk you out of that. But what I am here to talk you out of is the concept that cheap is better, because it's not. I mean, I am not conservative with money. If I see, like I said, if I see a drill that's $400, if I want it, even if I don't use it for a month, I'm going to buy it because I know it's a quality product and I have used it, and the thing works like a charm and does a fellow good. So but I would say I'm not rare, but I'm probably not like everybody. I know what I want and I'm not afraid to pay for it. Not, whether it's a firearm I want to buy, whether it's a fishing pole I want to buy, whether it's anything, a pair of boots. Just trying to think of the shit I buy. Tools I buy a lot out of. Uh, I spend a lot of money on my bonsai trees. They cost, I've spent $180 on a pot from Japan for one bonsai tree that I got it was a juniper I got at Lowe's Garden Center for about $18 that I turned into a bonsai. The pot I got from a Japanese potter for like 180 on his online store. And it was authenticated, etc. Why? Because I liked the pot. And I knew I would have it for fucking the rest of my life unless I dropped it. But it's going to sit in my bonsai garden forever until I die, until I'm long gone from this world. That's why. Most of you would say, why don't you just go to Home Goods and get a bonsai pot for $20? Well, two reasons. Because the craftsman from Japan that made this pot was about 80 years old, and this was like 3 years ago. I don't even know if he's still alive. He's not going to be making pots forever. And he's got a sterling reputation in the bonsai market. Okay. And he lives in Osaka, Japan. So I can say I have a pot, all right, from Satoshi Kojima. And in his life, he only made like 5,000 of these. To me, that is value. So what does that mean? That means that your boy here is going to pay $180 plus the shipping for that pot. And I didn't need to be talked into it, need to be talked out of it. I would have paid $500 for that pot. That's how much I think of that guy's work. And by the way, not for nothing, making bonsais is very tedious work. And, I spent hours pruning that thing over the last few years, potting it, making sure it stays the fuck alive. I have a lot of sweat equity in it in my trees. So, yes, I don't want to put 40 hours of sweat equity in a fucking $20 pot from Home Goods. All right. That's just not me. That's not my nature. You put a quality craft in a quality product. That's what you have to transmit. It might not be bonsai pots. Just stick to cars. Everybody has that shit. I'm very brand conscious to GMC, but I'm not a fucking idiot. This truck was made in Canada. I've seen in the engine, everything, even the reservoir, the plastic reservoir. I don't know, how much did that cost to make? Like $2? Even that says made in Canada on it. Okay, I don't want it. My next Sierra, I don't want to buy that. I don't want a truck made in Canada. I want a truck made in Detroit. So we need to get better, and that's going to cost me probably $2,000 or $3,000 more. And you know what? I don't care because I make that in a week. So it doesn't matter to me, the upgrade. You see? Value. That's you can't talk trade without talking about value or commerce in how it affects an everyday American. Yeah? Okay. Anybody else? You guys grab a mic. I'm driving here, probably another half an hour. I'd like to take a break and listen to what you have to say, because your opinion is not any better than mine or any worse. So I'd like to hear it. It's interesting you guys are so quiet in the morning. I've been up since 5 a.m. Let's see, I've already done yoga. I've already had 2 cups of coffee, about to have number 3. Read news for an hour. What else? Wrote my nephew a nice note. He's graduating grad school today. I can't go though because it was a limited number of seats. It was indoors because of the weather. So only his parents and my wife are gonna go. So yeah, spent a nice 15 minutes writing a heartfelt card to my nephew. Graduating from Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston. I'm very proud of him. Going on to be an architect. Already has a job lined up. Good for him. Yeah, that's all the stuff I've been doing. So I'd like you guys to weigh in and see what's on your mind. It's either that, guys, or I get Brady Can, Mimi, and Chase all in here at once. It's up to you. And Frank. What do you think, Gemini? Should we self nuke this with getting the
Getting the whack,
getting a
the
meeting
whack
going?
pack in here. You think any of them are even up right now?
Yeah, let's turn this into a meeting. Let's turn this into a
Sure.
meeting.
Everything you said about the pasta is so right, Gads. My brother just got back from Italy, and I have a feeling we're going to see him on Easter, but I have a feeling he brought us, my parents and I, back some pasta from Italy, and I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, and you've noticed you've been, of course, and I've been to Italy a couple times. Not Sicily, but I've been to
Wow.
Italy.
You
And
beat me.
go ahead. Yeah.
You beat me to Italy. That's awesome. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, you're fine.
you're just so correct about the pasta there, because I have bought it in little, just little Italian shops, and it's so different. It's completely different.
And the other thing is too, they have a different way of making it. I've seen that on YouTube on a cooking show. But you go to Italy, guys, everybody there is thin, and immediately you're going to say everybody there's got a tight body, and you're going to say, oh well, that's because they walk everywhere and they smoke. No, their diet is like 90% carbohydrates, guys. But it's how they make the bread and the pasta that's different, which is why they're not fat fucks like people at the all-you-can-eat buffet in those Vegas. Gemini, you've seen them in Vegas. You see all the pigs at the trough when they go to those
Oh yeah, and
two
everybody's in those little carts, those wheelchairs or whatever those things.
mobility scooters.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
very odd.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the 2 a.m. buffets, and you see people in their 30s in mobility scooters in Vegas. It's fucking just, if it wasn't so tragic, it would be disgusting. But it's not like that in Europe. You're not going to see some obese person on a mobility scooter because their food is just made differently. And we need to import more of that food and not pay these heavy tariffs, right? So we'll go to Parson here. Hi there.
What's going on, young man? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent. So let's talk about these tariffs a little bit here. It's I'll give you a perspective. So Taiwan is also hit with these tariffs, and originally it was going to be 33 or 37%. And I got a letter, an email from the company saying, depending on current stateside inventory, we could see such and such increase. So let's just work with that 33% number, even though that's now been reduced down to 15%. Okay, so if we worked with that 37% number, and I'm also going to bring in a local gal who runs a little boutique here in Birmingham, Michigan, was on our local news crying about the Chinese tariffs. But to give you kind of an example, let's take a round number. Say I'm importing a camera that cost me $200. So just to be frank, so the 17% would be on that $200. So I'd see my cost increase by $34. Okay, or I should have an expected cost increase of $34. So the impact that would have on my business is next to zero. And I'll explain why. By the time you work out what I'm going to charge to install that camera, program that camera, and everything that goes with it, I'm going to have a 400% markup on that number. So how is that going to impact, $37 out of, 400% markup out of $800? Will I even increase my price? No. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's not going to impact it. It's a handful of Cat 5 ends. It's not that big of a deal. People don't understand. Like this gal in her boutique who designs her own her own stuffed toys that she sells at her boutique, and she's not like she sells them for $80 up to 125 bucks. You and I both know her cost on that when it arrives is probably about $10, maybe. So if her cost goes up 140%, what is she talking about? She's going to have, you know, 20, $28 into the product. Come on. I mean, the hyperventilating people, the American people don't really understand. I used to joke, I used to be one of these guys because I'm a service industry guy, have been for 31 years. And the bulk, once upon a time, we did have an American made product. But, most most of what Alltrack sold and put their name on, they actually produced in South Korea. Okay, they did have some high-end stuff that they manufactured in the United States, but the bulk of their product was produced in South Korea. And the reality of it is the product, the cost of the product was nominal to the cost that we were going to charge the client for the products and services that went with it. That's why, the joke being is I made more selling those cameras than both the manufacturer and the distributor made combined as far as the net profit. And that's what, hey, I love it. It's a service industry. I pay my people good money. Everybody's making money here. And what allowed us to charge and be cost effective was how cheaply we're buying the product. So, it's just like with Apple. Apple's profits are so high. I mean, their profits are immense compared to other types of products being manufactured, and it's because their costs are so low, and they're charging what the market's willing to pay. Will their margin might have to come down? I mean, if they jack their prices way the hell up, nobody's going to buy it. So their profit margin is more than likely going to come down. But at the same time, now the idea of the cost with freight and everything else, and the manufacturing in country and the risk to liability. Now what's Apple, kind of thinking about right now? Maybe we should find a way to do business, to do some of this manufacturing in at home. And that's just that's the ultimate goal here, folks. The other thing I want to kind of point out, though, this is a problem that we have in this country in the service in the trades fields, which are becoming extremely high, well paid, extremely well paid. If you're a good electrician, a good network guy, even a young kid, and you come up and you've gone to a local community college where a local company probably paid your tuition. You might even got paid to go to school. That's how desperate they are. We have 5.2 million of these jobs that have been readily available, and it's a matter of an effort to reach out, because we definitely have young people that aren't even looking for jobs, or are thinking their only opportunity is some job at a fast food or a restaurant, or not taking away, if you become a great waiter in a great restaurant, you can make a very good living. But the reality of it is, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of unused potential, and we've got to find a way to marry those two together. And if we can do that, and we need to do that at the same time that we're doing these tariffs, because if we don't do this, and if we don't develop the people that can take on these jobs that are going to become available, then what's the point? So I think
Exactly.
it's hand in hand.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought up that. There's a video I'll put on my page when I close the space before I get to work here. I want you guys to watch it. It was a recent interview Mike Rowe did at like a town hall. Mike Rowe, you guys are all familiar with him. He's very pro tariff. He's very MAGA, very pro what Trump is doing. But, and I agree with him on this. It's what Parsons just said. We can't do these tariffs in a vacuum. We need to. And Mike Rowe brought up, here's the 3 states that are bringing trade schools in. I'm very proud to say my home state of New Hampshire, and then North and South Dakota. So even though Doug Burgum and Kristi Noem are now in the cabinet, their lieutenant governors who took over for them are carrying that on in spades, guys. Like, and our Kelly Ayotte, who's elected in the fall, she was a senator, now she's a governor. She is all in on the trade schools. You have to do this. Like my youngest, like he's he's like, Dad, you don't have to sell me. I don't want to. I don't want to study business or anything else at a 4-year college. He wants to go to a tech program, uh, which he can do simultaneously by getting like an associate's degree at community college just to learn the basics of whatever business or, and I'm fine with that. And it's not because it's saving me money. It's not because I'm cheap. He's still a few years away. I'm just saying he's very, very convinced that uh, he wants to do that because he's like me. He has a lot of hobbies. He likes the most expensive sports equipment. You know, he likes the most expensive video games. He likes the, most expensive when he was younger, those fucking Pokemon car, always the best for him. And I used to think it's because we were spoiling him, but he's always asking me like, Dad, what can I do to make money today? Blah, blah, blah. Uh, meanwhile, my daughter sleeps till 1 o'clock. Big, great student, great kid, but she doesn't have that drive that my father had. That maybe it's not because she's a girl. I'm not making that point. I'm just saying like it's just different. He has that entrepreneurial blood, like I had, like my father, So when when you have expensive hobbies like I do, or like my kid does, never discourage them as long as they know the hard work it takes to make that money. And if they want to do it, don't say, I've never said to my son, you don't need $150 football cleats. I've never said that to him. You don't need $60 lineman gloves. If that's what he wanted and he had some money saved up from Christmas or whatever, I'll help him out. He knows what he wants. He's not afraid to pay for it, all that stuff. Um, I don't stand in the way of that. As long as people know what it costs, whether it's a teenager or whether it's a 50-year-old, as long as they know what it costs, never do that. Oh, you don't need that. Get these; they're cheaper. No, he wants these Under Armour football cleats. Okay, that's fine. How much money do you have left over from your birthday? Uh, $80. Okay, well, I'll give you the other $80 to buy them, and then that's it. His piggy bank's wiped out. But that was a risk he was willing to take. This is what I'm talking about, guys. We've become obsessed with cheap, cheap, cheap. I hate cheap. I don't buy cheap anything, guys. And I don't think any of you do either. At least you don't intentionally. You like what you like, but quality comes with a price, guys. Right? Uh, you know, I'm probably very expensive for what I do. If I was living in bumblefuck Alabama, I wouldn't be getting what I'm getting now because the economy doesn't support it. But when you're working in the most affluent area in New Hampshire, and I know these people can afford it, why should I devalue my work? I mean, I don't need they need me more than I need them. 30 years ago, I couldn't say that because like there's more guys working in the trades. But you know what? 30 years ago, I was in high school. So I wasn't, I didn't ask to be born in 1979. It is what it is. I didn't ask to go into my adult life post NAFTA. So yes, I am going to charge these rich Democrat fucks the amount of money I do. It's not because they disagree on politics with me. It's because I know they can afford it. I know that they just want this work done. And I know I'm going to do a good job. What is that worth to somebody? It's worth whatever we agree upon, I guess. Right? The reason I'm giving you all these examples, guys, is so all this shit makes sense. All right. Here's another thing, plane tickets. Listen, if I want to go somewhere bad enough, I work hard for my money. So do you guys. I'm not one of these guys that sits online all day and tries to find the cheapest flight. Just say, look, you know, I want to go to Dominican. I don't want to uh, fly out at 5 in the morning to save like $80. Like, I just don't. It's fine with me, but my family, they're not morning people. I don't want to fucking deal with fighting people to get out of bed to be at the airport. I just don't. I don't need to anymore. I'm not flat ass broke. Like, the fact that the tickets are $200 more a piece to fly during business hours is not going to break me. So why am I going to put myself through waking everybody up at like 2 in the morning to be in Boston by 3:30 to get on a plane at 5:30? I just don't want to fucking deal with that. I don't want to deal with the attitude. I don't want to deal with the complaining. I don't want to deal with the stress. I don't really get stressed, but it stresses everybody out. Is the ride going to be on time? I don't give a shit about that. Like, listen, we're not broke. Let's fly at 10 o'clock in the morning like normal people do and not be stressed. Oh, but it's like 1,000. I don't care. It's the only vacation we're going to take this year. It's worth the extra $1,000 not carrying people to the car at 2 in the morning to rush to get to the airport, because I'll be the only one up and I'll be the only one with accountability in the house. Not worth it to me, guys. And by the way, I ended up picking Icelandic when I took that trip to the Dominican. And yes, I told my parent, this is what you're crazy. I can't believe you spent that much. I said, doesn't matter. Icelandic flies out of Logan to Punta Cana at 10 in the morning. Okay. My dad's like, oh, but you lose the day. When you get down there, you're going to go to the beach or the pool for like an hour. And then I said, Dad, I'm there for a week. I don't plan on spending it indoors. Like, I don't give a shit that, I'm not at the pool bar by, 5 minutes after we get to the hotel. Like, I don't mold my vacations around drinking like you do. So, and I love you, Dad, but I know what your MO is, the vodka and the pool. So, you know, whatever, guys, like, this is what we talk when we're talking about value. This is what it's all about. So, what is something worth to you? What is the price of something ultimately worth to you? That's up for you to decide. But I'm telling you, with this new economic reset, even people like us that are cognizant of pricing and into politics and into the news, even on a superficial level, right? Our whole world is going to be turned upside down with everything we buy and everything we consume and everything we touch. Okay. I'm already seeing it on Amazon. This particular type of magnesium that I like, I hate to go to Amazon to buy it, but it's the one thing where I'm kind of a hypocrite on, because the hippie organic store here in town, she marks it up like $13 more a bottle. And I take magnesium twice a day, sometimes 3 times if my body's bothering me, right? From all my hands and knees all day. Um, I just can't justify it because I'm going through like 30 capsules in 2 weeks. So I hate to buy it on Amazon, but I don't know this lady who runs that store enough to ask her or to even say, it's like the one thing I don't buy here. Why do you mark it up $13? So for now, until that changes, that's 26 bucks a month I'm saving by buying it on Amazon. And it's the exact same thing as in the organic store. The exact same type of magnesium that I like. Okay. But I'm seeing it because on Amazon, even it was, first of all, I don't understand. It's a California vitamin company. It's everything sourced in the USA, non-GMO. It's not Chinese magnesium. But I noticed it's a Prime thing, so you'd get it in 2 days. My bottle's running low, so I looked at it this morning. I'm not gonna get it till May 2nd, and it's, $2.99 more, even with a Prime membership. So I'm already starting to see this, guys. You have to be prepared for this. To answer your question, I didn't order it because it won't get here in time, so I am going to the organic store before Easter to replenish this. But I guess what I'm telling you guys is I don't shop there, but I saw something on Temu that their prices are gonna spike after Easter. And Sheen, that other company, they're both China based, right? So yeah, our whole world is gonna get turned upside down, right? What did I tell you guys back around Christmas? Don't buy a car in 2026 if you can help it, unless you just don't care about price, because I knew that he was going to tariff vehicles. I knew that I didn't know the steel and aluminum tariff would be permanent, but that's why what are your vehicles? Steel and aluminum. For those of you that drive domestics, like I said, even me, GMC. But you know what? It's not made in the Midwest, it's made in Canada. I don't exactly know how much control the dealership I go to up north has over that. I think the supply and demand is a factor there. It's just I'm in a blue collar state. Everybody wants a pickup, and he just takes what he can get. Like my dad's truck, he had to get from a guy he knew in Long Island at a GMC dealership. My dad's got a little Canyon, an old guy truck, and he waited like 3 months over his lease to get it. And this guy we do business with, friends, he wanted to make my dad happy so bad. He took an Uber down to Long Island and drove that truck back because my dad wanted that exact truck. This was like last fall. So there's a supply and demand thing as it is. I didn't ask how much my dad paid for it. The last one he leased. So anyway, I'm just trying to give you examples in my life so you get an idea of where we're at and where we're going. And it's the pessimistic people are going to tell you it's not going to be pretty. But those pessimistic people are the people that were buying tech stocks. I guarantee you they have the red bandana on, like the GameStop memer, right? Um, Not Mary Tiles, Texas, the other guy, the other goof that bought GameStop, or the other one's AMC. They were all getting rich there, right? You guys had to know that. I mean, I don't even care if it was an inside job, but that GameStop AMC thing, you had to know that was shooting fish in a barrel. That was once in a lifetime. And these people got lucky. And then when they get lucky off of a meme stock, they don't appreciate the value of money. And all those stupid people that invested in these useless stocks when Sleepy Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel, destroying this country the last 3 years, they didn't understand what they were doing was not sustainable. Same thing with crypto's a little higher up on the food chain. But what did we learn? What was crypto around Valentine's Day? Over $100,000 for the first time. Bitcoin, Bitcoin in particular. Okay, where is it now? In the mid 70s. So, everybody was telling me. Everybody from Grant Cardone to Peter Schiff to all the Europeans that live in Dubai in Mario space were telling me Bitcoin is the hedge for when well, not really, bro, because it along with the market, it crashed 25% in value. And I have a little more respect for Bitcoin than maybe I should. I don't really have a lot of it. I don't really care about it, to be honest with you, but I know a lot of people do. But what did we learn? It's not the hedge. That gold proved to be the hedge. Everybody's buying. China's buying gold since Trump announced the tariff. India's buying gold. India never stopped buying gold. The European countries are extracting their gold from where they have them in world deposit centers, physical gold, right? And gold is net. Let me look it up. Let me look at this app, guys. Gold is as of today in real time. Okay, it's down bucks, but it's still $3,300. Silver's $33. So silver's a fraction of that, but that's normal. So the point is, guys, the moral of the story is it's anybody's guess right now. As long as you're prepared for the possible and impossible, you'll be fine. And that's not a stretch. You can do it. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I'm surprised none of you wanted to talk about the Salvadoran dude, gangbanger, piece of shit. But anybody would like to make a final comment? Gemini, how about you? Or are you just still getting up in sunny Arizona? Thinking about the pasta you're going to have on Easter. Bona Pasqua. Bona Pasqua, right? Well, I guess that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. I hope it was good for you. It was great for me. Yeah? Okay. Awesome. It's recorded, so if you popped in later and you have any comments, I love reading the DMs after you. I really appreciate you guys listening to the space too. And I'm glad you liked it. Another crazy day in news. Oh, we got one more speaker here, Sean. Not Sean, not the Sean, but another one. Spells it the same way. Sean, what's up?
Good morning. How are you?
Very good.
So, commenting on the pasta, back in the day, I dated an Italian woman, and in their house, they always have a kitchen in the basement. So there's a kitchen in the main floor and the kitchen in the basement, but the basement kitchen was just pasta making. That's all they did, from scratch. So I'm all for the Italian pasta. It is phenomenal. There's nothing like it.
And way better for us. And every town has like an Italian market, Italian grocery. And they'll have brands you can't find at this grocery store, even like Whole Foods, and it'll be more money. But the more expensive it is, same with olive oil, guys. The stuff that's best for you, that you can eat a lot of without getting fat, is going to cost more money. What does RFK say? And they charge us more not to kill us, basically. So uh, buy it's if I love pasta. I just don't eat it a lot, but I do love it. Um, I would recommend getting the most expensive Italian stuff. Okay, it's closest to homemade. You don't want to get something mass produced like Prince or anything like that. Uh, so my father-in-law worked in the Prince box factory in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I can tell you from the stories I've heard, just if you see how they make the boxes that they uh, put this pasta in that you buy for 99 cents, I don't know if you'd want to eat it. The amount of chemicals that's made put into corrugated cardboard, it will blow your mind. Uh, anyway, not to go down that path today. Yep, buy real olive oil, cold pressed, probably be $30 a bottle easily, and real pasta. The real Italian stuff is the way to go. The amount of money you're dropping on that, it'll pay for your health, will pay for itself with giving your body the right food. Okay? Cheers, guys. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Have a good one. And learn to make your own pasta, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't eat it enough to have a pasta maker. To be honest with you, like I'm a once a month pasta guy. I do love it. I never like oh, I'm gonna have spaghetti tonight. I'm gonna have linguine when I get home. It's just for me it's like pasta meat and pasta baguette. That's what I like. All right. Anything with shallots is good. By the way, I have a really good recipe, guys. I've been eating a lot of string beans because I like them. I don't know if you've heard of any of you have ever watched like public broadcasting, no matter what state you're in. You've all heard of the French chef Jacques Pepin. Well, he has the best string bean recipe. Just like you do it in a Parisian restaurant, you mix in shallots with it. Man, is that good. The flavor alone is amazing. It's an excellent side dish to whatever steak or rack of lamb you're having. I'll try and find that on YouTube is where I saw it, but it's simple to make. And I would rather have that than any sort of potato with like a ribeye. If you make string beans this way, they're gonna have a ton of flavor. It won't be bad for you. And the French know everything about cooking. That I can guarantee you. They're the best. And there's another reason why they're not a bunch of fat asses either, because they eat real food with real ingredients and no additives. So hopefully RFK can replicate that here and start